So today in this video, we're going to be looking at a general strategy for factoring quadratic equations. So I've written out a quadratic equation right here, x squared plus 5x plus 6. So how would we go about factoring this quadratic equation? So if we think about it for a second, when we factor this quadratic equation, we want two expressions, x plus some number, multiplied by x plus another number, right? And you'll see why in a second. And so let's just call one of those numbers a. A stands for any variable, any constant number. And we'll call the other number b. Fair enough. So if you remember how to FOIL out these two expressions and actually multiply these out, you should end up with a quadratic equation with a and b as your numbers. So let's go ahead and do that. So x times x would be x squared. And then x times b would be bx, right? Because I go to the first term and then to the second term. And then moving on to a times x, the first term, would just be ax. And then lastly, a times the second term b would be ab. So if I have any two numbers, a and b, this is what the overall quadratic equation will look like when I'm done FOILing this out. So it looks a little bit more complicated than what I have here. But if you look at these two terms, bx and ax, you'll see that both of these terms have an x in common. So in that case, I can actually factor out this x. So what would that look like? So if I rewrite this as x squared plus, let's put the x right here and take out that x. And so I have b plus a. And if you look at this, it makes sense because if I wanted to multiply this out again, I would get x times b plus x times a. So I know that I factored out this x correctly. And then the ab is just going to be the same, two constants and no variable there. So now it looks a little bit more familiar to what we have here, right? I have the a plus b, which stands for any number, since a and b were both numbers. And then I have the a times b for the last constant here. So what does this mean? That means if I want to factor out this quadratic, I need to think of two numbers, a and b, that if I multiply them, I get 6. But if I add them, I get 5. So the way I generally try to do these is maybe an easy way to go about this is to think about factors of 6, right? Especially if you have a lower number and they don't have many factors, you can think of a limited amount and you'll be able to get to your amount correctly. You'll be able to get to your two conditions correctly. So what are the factors of 6? Well, there's 1 and 6, but there's also 3 and 2. So if I try 3 and 2, that works out pretty nicely. 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 plus 2 is 5. So 3 would be my a number, and 2 would be my b number. So if I wanted to factor this out, I would just have to write x plus 3 times x plus 2. And I encourage you to check your work. As you factor this out and you've reached your final answer, FOIL this out and see that you do indeed get x squared plus 5x plus 6. So I'm not going to write that out here, but if you think about it, you get the x squared plus 2x, first and last term, plus 3x, second and the first term, and then 3 times 2 is 6. And then the 2x plus 3x is what we were mentioning here, and you would get 5x that way. But I encourage you to try that out on your own and see if you can get the answer. Now, what about this 1 and 6? So some of you might be thinking, okay, well, if I had 6 plus negative 1, I would get 5, and that would reach this condition, right? But the problem is that if you have 6 times negative 1, you get negative 6 and not a positive 6. So always make sure that both conditions are being fulfilled. Whatever numbers you have, positive or negative, they need to multiply to a certain number and then add to that, and then add to your b term number right here. So that's it. And I encourage you to try more examples wherever you can in your textbooks or online examples. But that would be it.